Hello and welcome to Mimosa Tech Talk. I'm Dustin, your host, and I'm here with Eric.
I'm Eric, and I'm here with Dustin.
Oh my God, are you sure?
Yes, sir. What's on the pre-Halloween agenda for this afternoon?
Well, we're supposed to be talking about Mimosa clients, but if you really want to talk about my outfit here, for those that are watching from home or listening from home, we had our Halloween party today, so I was dressed up as Death.
Death?
Death himself.
I'm about a meter from you. Am I okay? Or am I?
No, I was just showing the inside on the outside today. So, I'm dead on the inside, but I was showing that I'm dead on the outside today.
I'm not any harm, am I?
No, I won't murder you today.
Okay.
We have to at least finish the show before I do that.
I'm down. Let's do it.
So, we're on episode number 48. We're talking about Mimosa 6 Series clients. So for those of you watching from home, you can see some stuff on the screen here. You see stuff on the table. For those of you who are listening, we have the Mimosa C6x, we have the Mimosa C6, and the Mimosa C6x LE. And for those of you who don't want to listen to us drone on about this for the foreseeable future, we also have a TLDL, too long didn't listen, at the end of the show. So you can always skip ahead to the very end if you want to do that. Let's just jump right in and talk about Mimosa client radios. So basically, air quoting here, it's the bridge to the end user experience. So client radios are used to connect, end users to access points or, networks in general. Different deployments require different client capabilities. So we have 3 different products here that offer, different flexibility without compromise. And so you can choose based on performance, environment, or cost profile. So the one that people are probably most familiar with is the one that's right here. It's the C6X. And this is what came out with the A6 back in, I don't know, at this point, like 2022-ish at this point.
Yeah,
so it's been a bit. So it's used for both point to multipoint and point to point. So you can do either way. The biggest thing that with the C6 is that it goes 20, 40, 80, and 160 megahertz for both point-to-point and point-to-multipoint. And this is really ideal for long-range rural or mid-range suburban deployments. You can use it for short-range urban deployments. We have a different size antennas. So, Eric, would you like to talk about our client antennas?
Sure. And let's take it, as you can see on the C6X. Let's pick that up. C6X, it actually right out of the box, it has a weatherproof IP67 horn on board. So out of the box, it's ready. It's got a built-in 8 dBi gain little horn on board with a pretty wide pattern. So what we like to have folks do is go to a variety of our other antennas, the X12, 12 dBi, X16, X20, very popular, and our X25. And X30, we do have a 2-footer, an X30 that'll go right under this guy as well.
Right. And the cool thing is that we also have vendors out there who work with us and have built, a different suite of antennas. So, they're not our own antennas, but they have larger sizes than 30 if you choose to go higher than that.
Yeah, it makes it versatile, get it out there on the market on different continents and so forth. Yep.
Right. So
different environments.
We always try to work with all these folks who want to work with us. So we've got, multiple antenna vendors out there who have product that work on our radios as well. So basically, let's talk about, our 5 series products. So we have the C5C and the C5X. They're both the same thing, basically. They're C5C is connectorized, C5X is the twist on, but they both perform the same way. There are 5 series products with our 5 series chips, AC radio, our most popular products in the whole wide world. Hundreds of thousands of them deployed, each of those deployed. So, almost 1 million of just those alone have been deployed in the world today. But unfortunately, all of our 5 series products have been end-of-lifed as of earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, people are like, holy crap, the products have been end-of-life. What do we do? Well, we have the 6 series products here, and that's why we're talking about them today, because we want to make sure that people are aware of them. So the C5X is upgraded to the C6X, and then we'll talk about the C6X LE here soon as well. So the biggest improvements on the C6X compared to C5X is wider channels. So we can go, instead of to 2040-80, we can go up to 160, which we talked about. It's improved sensitivity and stability. We have enhanced monitoring configuration, and built for evolution, not just replacement. So the C6X, it's an AX chip, Wi-Fi 6 series. So it's the next evolution of what we use here is Quantenna. What else do you want? What else about the C6X?
Just a quick tip. So you mentioned point to point and point to multipoint. So on point to point, we know if we go to a Mimosa backhaul radio, we can do a 2x channel. But just to keep in mind, if we're going to use this PTMP, this client radio, as point to point backhaul, that's going to be a single channel. And like you mentioned, it'll be a single 20, 40, 80, 160.
Right.
So that's just something to keep in mind.
No splitting channels, unfortunately.
Yep.
So, of course, on this radio, the C6X, it's a 1 gig Ethernet port. I know there's been lots of requests for a bigger Ethernet port, and, I hear you loud and clear. I have the same requests. But this radio will do 1 gig up, 1 gig down. This radio has auto mode on it, just like the old C5X and C5C does. So you can do 1 gig up and 1 gig down. It kind of dynamically allocates how throughput is, set on the radio, depending on the need for uplink or downlink traffic. Or if you have equal uplink, downlink needs, then it'll kind of, split that 50-50. So it'll, again, like I said, dynamically adjust that as you need it. We have 50-50. We have 60-40 and 70-30 for different splits as well. We also have 8 millisecond frame sizes and 4 millisecond frame sizes along with auto. So, if you're looking for lower latency, 4 milliseconds is there. And in the future, we'll have 2 milliseconds as well. But auto is, the best of both worlds.
So to go behind the scenes and optimize throughputs and compare it with its access point association, packet error rates and things like that. It'll go behind the scenes and work for you automatically.
Right.
Give you the best.
And the newest firmware that we have out as of this video's recording, we have 3.3.4, and this has auto channel, which has been a major request from a lot of people around the world, which is a big feature that we've always had in our 5 series radios. But we also have automatic primary channel selection. And those at home are probably like, what is that? So on the 5 and the 6 series, but this is more about 6, is that you have a primary channel that you can select in the channel that you have selected. So say you have a 160 megahertz channel selected, and then you can choose the cleanest 20 megahertz chunk in that channel and use that as your transmission channel. And so a 160 megahertz channel, you've got like 6 or 8 different selections there to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you put it on auto, the radio will automatically go through those channels and find the one that will transmit the best, the one that has the least amount of interference or errors. And it'll do that. So you'll have that plus auto channel where it'll go through the available channels and pick the right channel as well. So you have 2 layers of the radio picking what is the cleanest available channel or spectrum to transmit on, which is brand new, for this radio. It just came out.
And it'll operate out of the box in, say, United States, below 5850, Uni 1 to 2A, Uni 3,
right,
out of the box. A little different if we want to go above that.
Right.
And that'll be another discussion.
So we'll talk about AFC here in a little bit, but we'll get into that. But yes, generally speaking, the radio will go from 5150 all the way up to 6425.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are going, 7 gigahertz when? Well, all I can say is that we're working on it, and hopefully we'll have something to talk about here soon. All right, so that's enough about C6. So let's talk about the C6 Lite or Lite Edition, C6x LE. What does that mean? What's so different about this radio, which looks exactly the same as this radio? Well, you open your mouth. So
it's pretty much the same thing, except for if we can go 1x160 on this guy, on the C6X, the LE will be limited to 1x80. Anything else on there?
That the biggest thing is being limited to 80 megahertz. So the whole point of this product is to have a cheaper C5X Lite priced solution for people who don't need or can't afford a regular C6X that goes 160 megahertz. So as we know, the spectrum is getting more and more crowded every day all around the world. Eric and I do testing here in the Bay Area of San Jose area all the time. And every time we go out, there's more and more interference, even in the 6 gigahertz range. And that'll continue to be the case because of AFC. But so that means that there isn't a lot of 160 megahertz channels that are clean, especially in certain parts of the world that don't have regulations or have very loose regulations.
Good point.
So the C6X Lite or LE is good for that, and it's cost conscious as well. So instead of it being $200 for a radio, it's $89 or 89-ish. Please don't quote me on price, by the way. But it's like $89-ish instead. But it's limited to 80 megahertz. But at the same time, who's going to be able to use 160 megahertz? Some people can, for sure. But that product, I think, is going to be very attractive for the price and performance. So it does the exact same thing that this one does.
So if you go to the website, Mimosa websites, you can go find where to buy, or go to the authorized resellers, distributors around the world, and so it really fits some good price points. If you need these in South America, you need them over in the Middle East and so forth, into African continent. Here's an excellent, same performing radio, just down to 80 wide, but at a nice price point.
Yep.
So, yep.
Again, exactly the same features. It's just lacking 160, so it's AFC ready in standard mode, just like the C6.
How do you mount it?
Well, you can mount it with your handy dandy hose clamps, just like the other C6. Yes, I know hose clamps are also frowned upon in the industry, and as we progress through building new radios, Eric and I are slowly going, hey, let's do some other kind of mounting besides hose clamps, which we'll show you here in a minute on the C6. So just, hang in there with us. We're working on it. But the C6X Lite, it still works exactly the same with A6 and multipoint mode. It can be used for point-to-points for those that don't need 160 megahertz or can't use 160 megahertz. Cost-sensitive deployments, which we've already talked about. It's cost-effective without sacrificing reliability. So it's really the cost-conscious product that we have. So we didn't really limit it very much, but just enough. And then the big product that people have been talking about and asking for is the C6. And the C6 is this big square or rectangle monster here in the middle of the table or on the middle of the screen if you're watching. But it's a flat panel integrated antenna inside the radio shell with GPS. So it's a GPS enabled client. This radio has already been deployed in India and is still pending a FCC certification.
Yeah.
And because our lovely government has decided to take a vacation in the middle of the fall here, we're still waiting for that. So as soon as they decide they want to get back to work, maybe we can finally get that done.
Well, we'll see these get certified and brought in to the distributors and around the markets and stuff.
Right.
Also, I see silver screws here, and I see white up here. So this is going to probably come into a nice white, right?
So yeah, for those that can't see what you're talking about, on the front of the radio, there are a multitude of screws holding the front radio cover on. And so on the desk, we have big raised silver screws, and on the screen, we have flat white screws. And so the silver screws, the big bulky silver screws are from the first revision of the radio, whereas the flat white screws are what we're going to be selling into different countries.
So we'll see at IP67 weatherproofed on the new stuff, and an aesthetically a little more aesthetically pleasing, it looks like.
Right.
So, anyway,
the big difference between the C6 and the C6X is at the beginning, it's only going to be point to multipoint. And if for those of you who used Mimosa way back in the day, C5s and things like that were also only point to multipoint initially, and then they moved to point later on. So this will be point to point. But the biggest difference about the C6 to the C6X is that it's a non-line of sight or near line of sight product. And how that works is that it's a 4x4 radio. It's our first 4x4 client, and it uses beamforming on both downlink and uplink to help mitigate or bounce around trees and structures and other things that are in its path. So we've had customers test this product already, and we've sent probably 20 or 30 of these out to different people. And I've had some customers come back to me and say, wow, this product is really bad. It doesn't work. And then I asked them how they're using the product, and they're like, oh, we're aiming straight through the tree. And I was like, physics still comes into play here, guys. 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz is 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz. There's only so much you can do with it. But if you aim that under the tree or off of something behind you and you bounce around something, it's going to work great. So this customer that I'm specifically talking about, I said, hey, aim it down below the tree where it bounces under the tree. He came back to me the next day and said, wow, this product works amazing. It's a complete 180 from what he said before. He said, wow, this product sucks. And then he deploys it the way it's intended. He's like, wow, this product is really great. We've had people deploy these products at over 3 miles with non-line of sight. We've had customers deploy this at over 6 miles with non-line of sight, which is really amazing because I would have never expected this product to work at that distance. So
you have near line of sight and non-line of sight. There's some differences, and you just pointed out one. We like to have line of sight at 2.4, 5, 10, 24 gig up in the spectrum, when we can. If we can't, he tried to burn through the trees. It's going to get some energy to go through the foliage, depends on the density and the distances. And so that's fine. But what you just described is he's taken his air array and aimed it at the ground. So he's getting some out of phase stuff and some direct energy and some slightly out of phase energy. And so all of that is combined and for maximum throughputs and so forth behind the scene. Just get it, look at the signal meter, do the best, whatever you can do with it. If you have a bank in the path at 3 miles, a big building, come off to the left and right and mess around with it live in your UI via your laptop table, whatever you got, desktop table,
Right.
whatever you're on, a tablet, and tune it in and see what you can get out of it. So we've got some neat reports and less than optimal conditions, and we've tested it here around the Bay Area as well.
All right. So people are wondering, how does this product work? What are the stats on this product? So the C6 has a 14 dBi antenna in it, and with beamforming, it makes it a 20 dBi antenna. So how they made this product is they essentially cut an A6 antenna in half, and they shoved it into this to give it 4x4, because the A6 is an 8x8 antenna array.
Couple of panels in there. Yep.
So it's basically a miniature A6 that is connecting to an A6.
Okay.
Now, don't tell anybody an A6 connect to an A6, because they're going to go, hey, we want to do that. No, it doesn't work that way. I'm just giving you an example of what this is. So it's just basically a miniature A6 that's connecting back to the access point with GPS on top and non-line of sight. And the next question you're going to ask is, what kind of Ethernet port do we have? Well, the initial revision of the radio will have 1 gig, but the plan is to put 2.5 gig in there because I complained enough, and customers, I'm sure, will complain enough that, it's a 4x4 radio. We can definitely push more than the gig. Why are we limited to the 1 gigabit Ethernet port?
Okay.
I got it. I totally get it. So I've been promised they're going to put 2.5 gig into it at some point.
So it'll probably go with the passive PoEs as well. We kind of bump up that throughput for your PoE in and out. So here's your copper port with a nice weatherproofed gland, IP67 gland, Vortex weep hole. So if the outside pressure, if you use these up in Fairbanks or over in the Middle East, wherever you're using the radio, We've got a Gore-Tex valve on it, so that'll, if the outside pressure in the unit is different than the inside, that differential will be pushed out or inputted into the gland there. We have an LED status. Good. Okay.
Right.
There's some mounting stuff I think you're probably going to talk about.
Yeah. So if you flip it around, leave the back facing us, and for those that can't see it from home, we have two different mounting ways. We have on the left-hand side of the radio, we have where you can put hose clamps. And then in the center of the back of the radio, we have where you can mount an L bracket, which if you're familiar with the Mimosa B5, it's the same bracket that came with that screws onto the back and has adjustment for the azimuth and the elevation. So makes it a lot easier to aim in different directions. And also, we're not talking about B6X in this presentation, but B6X also has the same where you can
bracket,
put either hose clamps or a bracket on the back of it. So they're listening to feedback. They're adding better mounting. They're talking about adding, bigger Ethernet ports. So we're getting there.
And just for the folks at home, Dustin and I and a couple other folks, we're involved in that feedback. So since we're also field guys, so we put these out and test them here in Northern California. So we'll test these and we'll provide feedback like you said, I want a robust mount. And then if they come in with an L bracket and it needs some kind of specialized thing, or we want to see the bolts changed on something simple usually, we'll give them feedback and they'll add a couple of millimeters to maybe the L bracket system. Or whatever. So, and then the placement of the LEDs is important to our customers. And you can see LEDs and get a status without climbing a tower or going up to that 3-story apartment building. So all of these things we look at and we're hands-on as being the field guy. So that goes right in. So I think that's important that we get to get collective information to the engineers that design the hardware,
right?
Too.
So, Eric, in your opinion or in your expertise, what deployment guidelines and typical distances would you see with each of these products? Is that something that you feel comfortable commenting on?
Sure. Take the C6X in point-to-point mode. We know point to multipoint. We're saying from an A6 association out to a couple of miles at a gig and a half, maybe a couple of gigs out 3-ish, 4 or 5 miles in PTMP mode aggregate. And then if you and I have tested this guy at 20 and 30 kilometers with an X25, with the Mimosa X25 dish, that's got a beam width of say 12 degrees on it. And we saw some respectable, about a gig aggregate. I think we were doing at 25 kilometers ish, 25 and 30 clicks.
Yeah,
and that guy. So get some good range. The auto channelization, those things all come into it performing and giving us the best throughput and so on. C6, we're still working on that, but I think, like you said, the folks and us, we've pushed these out a couple of miles. We were in Colorado a couple of months ago with this guy. And I was setting up a C6X on a pole at 3 meters high, and I had a C6X, and I also had a C6. I had one of these with me in Colorado, and I just set it on the ground on the tripod and aimed it 3 miles out to approximately to the A6. So I aimed about 3 miles out. It was on the ground, angled kind of up towards the C6 at 3 miles, and it associated right off. And as soon as I looked at the statistics and the UI and the laptop, and then I moved it back up on the pole, and it heated up pretty good. But a couple miles out so far in early tests and so forth for this guy, and several kilometers out for the C6X with at least this X25 on board.
Right. And then the C6 LE, again, like we talked about, is exactly the same radio. Just
transmit power, all that across the board.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's all the same. So just, he mentioned Colorado. Again, we went over 10 miles on a point-to-multipoint with the C6Xs, and we were seeing, 800 to a gig, maybe even a little more aggregate. Depends on, your signal level, SNR values, and things like that.
Congestion in the spectrum.
And then the C6, again, we've tested it somewhat short ranges. We've had customers push the limits on it, and they've even, connected at 6 and 7 miles at near line of sight. So which is really great for a beamform's 20 dBi antenna. So it's an amazing product, and I'm looking forward to getting that to people around the world who need an affordable near and non-line of sight product.
Did we mention we have an initial run of these, but it's limited, right? We get an X amount. We won't say how many, but we have an X amount incoming.
Yeah, but again, we're still pending certification.
It's pending certification, so we'll have an initial test bed, let's say, in the real world. Okay. Yep.
And so we mentioned AFC earlier, and so let's talk about AFC now. So right now, AFC for point to multipoint, the A6 is AFC certified. And because it has GPS built in, it's a fixed access point. The C6Xs don't have GPS, so they're considered standard power clients. So at the moment, C6Xs have to go down 6 dB in power based on AFC rules, but it still works in AFC. We have customers who have already beta tested and deployed AFC. We actually released AFC officially during WISPapalooza in the middle of October. We have AFC key registrations coming in pretty much daily. Multiple people, are asking for keys. So there's lots of people out there who are trying and deploying AFC on the Mimosa A6 and C6X and are having, success with that. So
you and I are actively have our own in-lab. So I have an in-lab with 3 C6Xs, even a C6 non-line of sight unit, and I've got the AFC token. And I'm running it here. So, and then I run through it to see how it works. I disable it, put it back up, and then it reports. And mine's reporting in about 20 seconds or so, and it refreshes. It says, "Hey, I'm connected to." Can we say the big C word? One of the 6, the COMM company.
Yeah, of course.
So we're working with ComSearch, and so anyway, it reports to ComSearch. And it looks at the token, goes through, comes back in like 20-ish seconds for me on my network, and it's ready to go. It sees where I'm at. It also gives me, because of my latitude and longitude and any other congestion or regulations or whatnot, it gives me certain channels to choose from above 5850 in the Uni 5. And I think if I took my radio, or you're 70 miles from my house and you run it down here, you might have a whole different couple of channels to choose from. And somebody in Missouri does the same thing. They might have a couple of different channels to choose from with their token.
Yeah, it depends on what 60 hertz channels have been already pre-registered in the area, pre-existing licenses. Like in my lab, my office just next door to the podcast room here, I have 3 60 hertz channels available at the current A6 height. So height makes what appears to be a giant difference in what is and isn't available. So at this level, it's very few channels are available.
Oh, so you have your C6X 5 feet off the ground.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's going to give you only so much to work with.
Right.
I see. Okay.
So C6, again, it's still waiting for FCC certification, so there's no FC on it yet, but should be pretty easy to get, AFC certification, the GPS antenna built into the top of it. So all good. And again, the C6 and the C6X LE, 6 dB power reduction because of no GPS, but we are working on a solution for that as well. So hopefully we'll have something to share here soon where we can actually record the GPS location of the C6X and burn that into its memory. That way it can get full power AFC. So here we go. Hopefully that'll work out here soon.
And we're here for, as far as support on the support line, you and I with some other folks. So we have a support team, and so we're helping the folks, the limited number of folks that are on board with AFC tokens now, and then non-AFC, just regular users of the radio. So you and I are firsthand, and we'll get folks on the telephone and help them out with whatever you got. You got point to point, you got a backhaul Mimosa, you've got a point to multipoint Mimosa. We're doing that too. So call us, email us, or come to our help website.
Yep.
And we'll fix you up one-on-one.
Yeah, one-on-one.
One-on-one.
Very cool. We'll take
personalized
talk to you.
attention.
anybody calls in, Eric.
Here's my number, 408
It's-
555 1212.
I think it's 5,
No, it's not.
5675 or whatever, 867-5309.
Yeah. Yeah. My secretary, Jenny, she'll give you, she'll answer the phone, 5309.
All right. So, Eric, I think it's time for our our too long didn't listen TLDL. So we'll just sum this up real quick. So we have 3 client products. 2 of those are available today. 1 that will be available here soon. The 2 that are available today, C6x and C6x LE. The biggest difference between the C6x and the C6x LE is that the C6x can do 20, 40, 80, and 160 megahertz and is around $200, whereas the C6x LE can do 20, 40, and 80 megahertz channels and is around $90. The C6 has GPS. The C6 is a 4x4 integrated antenna for near and non-line of sight deployments. All 3 of these radios currently have 1 gigabit Ethernet ports and can do 1 gig up, 1 gig down over the Ethernet, but they can certainly do more than that over the wireless connection. C6X and C6X LE are AFC certified, and once the C6X, or once the C6, I should say, is FCC certified, then we can look at finishing the AFC for that as well. And that's it. That's the quick summary, less than 30 seconds probably, to talk about our products. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching episode number 48, where we talked about our C6 clients. So thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode.